What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio. I am joined today by a returning guest. He was all the way back on episode 18, probably over 1.5 years ago, I want to say. Mr. Sedat Oezgen is here again. How you doing today, buddy?
Yay. It's actually been August 2024. I remember that.
Ooh, so
Yes.
we're out there. It's been a
Yes.
while.
Almost 1.5 years, right?
Now, it's not like we haven't stayed connected and been chatting all this time. We message, we stay in touch, and the plan all along has been to get you back on here when you could talk about the project you alluded to the first time you were on.
Dude, it has been such a difficult time for me to know that you have something here that, you want to show to the world.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't, I was told not to post anything, no artwork, no hints towards the story and everything. And it was very, very difficult for me because, like, for example, when I was in New York last time, I talked to an editor and he asked me, he said, "Are you still working on that project?" Like almost as if, I was lazy or something like that. And I thought to myself, wait till I'm done and then we can
Yeah.
talk, because, and the funny thing is, actually, the book was supposed to come out in August. It wasn't supposed to come out in February, but there,
Yeah.
I have two, my own conspiracy theories. The first one would be actually that when I was in New York, I talked to Jeff the Bartolomeo from
Mm-hmm.
Comixology, and I said to him, I said, "Hey, have you seen any of the art from the book yet?" And he was like, "No, only the first 5 pages that you guys pitched us." And I was like, "Okay, please come to
Mm,
my table. Come to my
yeah.
table. I want to show you this stuff." I said I can send you scans, but the scans never do the original any justice.
Yes.
And he came and he looked at it and he was like, "Oh my God," because I also had some of the colors with me, and I showed
Nice.
it to him, and his first reaction was, he said, "I think this is going to be like one of our flagships for 2026 because," he said, "the story is crazy good." He said the artwork and the colors, and he said this is something that rarely happens because very
Yeah.
often you have, like, strong story, weak art, or a
Mm-hmm.
weak story, weak story, strong art. But in this case, I'm not the kind of person who likes to, like, clap themselves on the back, or
Yeah.
but or pat themselves on the back. But I gotta say, with this story, with this whole world that we created, I went, you know, not the extra mile, but like the extra continent, basically, in order to make sure that everything in there is up to the highest standards that I, as an artist, can deliver, while also maintaining my reliability in terms of, like, deadlines and stuff like that. Because there's a reality. I mean, I've done all my pages on 16 by 22, which is already, like, a task in
Yeah.
itself. And
Double
then
up.
double up, and then, believe it or not, but I would say most of the pages, I would say like 85 to 87% of the pages, I did one page a day. And, it was so time consuming, it was so exhausting, it was really a lot of work, and you got to make it happen. And everything basically relies on you because I think I said this somewhere else. The art is usually what pulls you into the comic, and the story is what keeps you going in most
Yeah.
cases. And I knew, okay, I have to deliver the best I can do because this is a creator owned book. This is not, Batman or Superman, where people are like, "Oh, I'm going to buy this book because it's Batman on the cover." They're going to buy it because they want to have some good art, or they because they see good art, or because they heard the story is really good. And therefore I was like, okay, Mark is an excellent writer. Like, honestly, I've never worked with anyone better than Mark. Like, the way he writes the stories, and him as a human being. I mean, he was just a sweetheart to work with, and
Oh, that's
he
awesome.
he gave me so much freedom. And the funny thing is, like, when before we started, he said to me, he said, I looked at all of your art, and I tried to make this as much stuff that you would like to draw. So I played into your corner basically. And I was like, no. I thought to myself, I didn't say it to him, but I was like, uh-uh. I was like, now you basically challenged me to go even crazier, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be the guy that didn't have to draw these crazy city or skylines, or crazy buildings, or the crazy stuff in terms of like the character designs. Because I think when you look at the book, or at the books and the covers, like, you will start realizing, especially beginning with the cover on issue number 3, that I created my own worlds on top of what Mark already delivered. And I have to say, man, the job that Mark has done on this book was exceptional. Like, the story how all of this happened was, Mark and I were working together on a project where he wasn't the writer. And let's say, to describe it politely, the writer of that project and I, we had our creative differences.
Okay.
The cool thing was, Mark saw how reliable I was, how fast I was, and how, professional I was when I was working with him, or working on that project. And it just didn't work out between me and the writer of the project. It's not me, being talking bad about him, but sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't work. And Mark came and he said to me, he said, dude, if you ever want to work with me on something, let me know, and let's do it. And then in 2023, I reached out to him. I said, hey, if you're still interested, because Mark is like an amazing writer. I love his writings. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
and you're on a first name basis with him, but just so
yeah.
the listeners and viewers know, we're
Oh,
talking
sorry.
about Mark freaking Guggenheim.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The name Mark has become for me so specific that I always keep,
Yes.
of course, Mark Guggenheim, Emmy winner. He wrote some of the most amazing comics you can think of. He's actually, it's pretty badass that, he has, I think, one or two movies being produced at the moment
Yes.
at Universal. Then he also just got picked up. One of his comics got picked up as a uh, TV show adaptation for Apple TV, which is like really cool.
That's big. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he's the sci-fi guy. I mean, he writes like every cool science fiction franchise you can think of: Planet of the Apes, Star Wars, Star Trek, and then
Yes.
he's also doing. I mean, he did a lot of the X-Men Future, or the future past kind of
Days of
thing.
Future Past. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
he also wrote that Wolverine game that came out when that Wolverine movie came out
Mm-hmm.
like ten years ago or something like that. And I knew Mark had a love towards science fiction, and I'm a total sucker for sci-fi. Like,
Yeah, it's no secret, especially if people go back and watch your first appearance on the podcast, you are a sci-fi addict.
yes, and I I was keen to work with him because there are some certain writers who they write certain stuff, and it's cool stuff, but it's not the kind of like genre that I'm interested in, where I'm like, if somebody would tell me, hey, I got this really nice World War II kind of story where, I don't know, it's a crime story, what, yada yada yada, I'd be like thinking to myself, oh my god, all the research that I would have to do, all this
Yeah.
stuff, that because in a sci-fi world I can basically go and create this cool stuff, but when you do like a historical book or something like that, you have to be like spot on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you
You know
can't.
people are going to call you on it if the one little thing is off, you know. That
Exactly.
that outfit wasn't created until the 1950s. What's it doing in this?
Exactly. And that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, okay, this would require too much research. Not that I haven't done any research in regard to this book. In regard to this book, like, it was different. Like, so after Mark and I we talked, and he told me, he said, I'm gonna send you the script. The first script is going to be ready for New York Comic Con 2023. And my flight got canceled on Tuesday, so I arrived on Wednesday.
Oh man.
And then I arrived in New York instead of New York. And there was the custom line was like, I don't know, like we waited there for 3 hours. And
Oh
in
my
that
goodness.
time, I received the script. He sent me the email and I was reading it. And the world building this guy did on the first 5 pages, the introduction, I mean, dude, like it was like there were fireworks going on in my brain. Like he totally lit my brain on fire. And then I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And then once I came to the end of the first story, the first issue, I was like, oh my God, I didn't
Mm,
expect this to happen.
yeah, good twist.
Yes, and he's been trying to make my life easy, but then I was like, no, let's make it a little bit more
You said, how
difficult.
can I make this harder? I'm going to draw it double up. I'm going to make a bunch more work for myself.
So, I there are certain situations where he was like, do this and that. I was like, hey, what do you think about doing this and that and that and that? And he was like, dude, this sounds amazing, but the work you gotta put into that. Are you sure you want to do this? I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I want to. Because like this was like the first time. Just imagine, like when you're working for a publisher, like let's say Marvel, DC, or whatever other publisher it is. When you get to play with Batman, it's a toy that belongs to the store. You can play with it as much as you want to, but by the end of the day, you just have to
Yeah.
put it back into the shelf,
Yeah,
right?
and you have certain restrictions and limitations put on you as to how the character can be portrayed, right?
Exactly what the character does, what he says, and yada, yada, yada. But with this, it was like, okay, first of all, these are my toys, you know? So that's pretty cool. And then you're like, okay, I got to make my toys look as cool as possible because let's say you, for example, if you would go to a store, comic book store, and you saw something that looked really cool, you want to go and pick it up. You want to look at it. You want to see, oh, the cover looks nice. Let me see if the interior art is really nice as well.
Exactly.
Then you see, oh, the interior art is not bad. Let me have a look at the story. And then once you get into it, you're like, oh, this seems to be something that I'm interested in. So let me buy this. And I've done everything in my limited, means as an artist to pull the reader in so that Mark can kidnap them with the story. Because
Yeah.
I got to tell you, man, like I've read a lot of scripts, as when I was an aspiring artist, I read a lot of like sample scripts. Then I read a lot of scripts by other people and they were really good. But Mark, he has this ability, and I think this stems from the fact that he's been working so much on TV. He knows how to like uh, uh, to build something up, and then here comes the ending, and it's such a cliffhanger, and you're like, what? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And now the title is called The Whisper War, right?
Exactly.
And this is so I'm assuming there's a lot of lore that you guys have developed together, and you're doing a ton of world building and character design.
Okay, so the thing is this: I absolutely love world building. Like I, I talk many times about this, but I'm a huge fan of guys like Stanley Kubrick, Ridley Scott, uh, Denis Villeneuve, and if you ever watched any of their movies, it feels like absolutely real. When you're
Yeah.
in there, it doesn't, like, for example, these guys make a sci-fi movie or a fantasy movie. It doesn't look like some cheap cosplay or something like that. I mean, I remember when I saw 2001 for the first time, and I looked at it and I was like, wait, what? This was in 69?
Yeah, and then everything looks like lived in. Like
And
the locations look real.
not just that, but when I was watching it for the first time, I was like, "Ah, okay, so George Lucas got the shots from the Death Star when the planes are flying in there. He got it from
Yeah.
Kubrick, so he got it from there. And And or if you look at Ridley Scott's Alien, Blade Runner, or even something like Gladiator, or any of Denis Villeneuve's movies, especially the last two Dune movies, it's like, okay, this world feels real. It doesn't feel
Mm,
like a, I don't know, somebody built something like a what you might call it. The background doesn't look like it was built for a movie, but it looks like it's lived in, and as if
yes.
people move around, you know. And this is something that was like really important to me, that I would, first of all, that none of the stuff that I'm doing looks like stuff that you've seen before. You know, that was really important to me. And Mark said to me, well, what do you think if we pitch this story as a Star Wars meets a Blade Runner kind of thing? And I was like, dude, there is nothing in there that's Star Wars. There's nothing in there that's Blade Runner. I know you have to pitch it to the
Yeah.
publisher in that way, but in regards to, like, I made it my mission to have people look at this and don't think about Star Wars, don't think about Blade Runner, don't think about Alien or anything that you've seen before, because I, as much as I am influenced and inspired by all of this stuff, I wanted to make it as make it look as unique as possible. And I had a lot of inspiration from anime, from as a matter of fact, fantasy, medieval fantasy kind of
Okay.
stuff, because like when I went and created some of the armory that you see in the book, when certain things are being shown, I wanted to make it look as if, okay, this is a mixture of Vietnam, kind of like Vietnam War kind of look mixed with fantasy, but then there's also a little bit of, I don't know, Japanese or Russian or Chinese, or I don't know, European culture kind of, and everything mixed together. And I wanted to have like someone who maybe who's a sci-fi fan and who looks at it and thinks, hey, this doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before. And for someone who actually doesn't look like sci-fi, that they may look at it and say, oh wow, I'm not a sci-fi fan, but this looks like something that I want to
That's
know more
that's a
about.
tall order there, dude, because there's so much content and so many designs. So to take the time to come up with something truly unique like that. I mean, were some of these things already kind of floating around in your head before this project came to be? Like I'm assuming you've had some sketchbooks with sci-fi sort of designs and things in them.
As a Well, I would say yes and no. On the one hand, like I've sometimes I would post some of my sci-fi sketches and yada yada on the internet, or certain sci-fi pages that I did for myself. But I was like, okay, people have seen this before, because they have seen this now, the stuff
Yeah.
that I've drawn. I can't reuse this
So you,
again.
so you
So
had to one up yourself too.
yes, like the thing is this, when Mark sent me a script, this none of the scripts felt repetitive. It wasn't like I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is again Luke Skywalker, I don't know, trying to find himself, blah blah blah. No, it
Yeah.
wasn't that. It was like, okay, this story, I've never read this story before. It's like, for example, if you watch Avatar, if you're a little bit older like us guys, then you're like, oh, I saw Dancing with the Wolves.
Yeah,
I've seen,
right.
right.
You're
And
picking up the inspiration behind a lot of things.
right. And with this, I felt like, okay, he delivered something with the story that I've never read before. I don't know. I mean, I haven't read all the sci-fi in the world, so maybe he did pick it up from somewhere. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't think so. And then I thought to myself, okay, I gotta try to at least try to be as creative and as quote unquote innovative in that regard, and to show the world that I love this genre so much, that I care about it. Because, like, how bored would you be if you open it up and everyone looked like Iron Man? Because,
Yeah, exactly.
like, one of the things, I mean, we talked about this before in the on the last podcast. One of the things that I really like, I dread about modern sci-fi is, like, it's always there's always like a game about life and death, and then you have a character coming in who looks like, whose costume looks like Iron Man's costume, and we've
Mm-hmm.
already seen that. I've seen Iron Man before. I don't need to see a second, uh, uh, what you might call it, low budget version of Iron
Yeah.
Man.
Some
Show me
kind of
something new.
derivative.
Yes, exactly. Like as Walter White said, you want to have the real thing, the real Coca-Cola.
Yeah, yeah.
And in this regard, I was like, okay, obviously it's difficult to come up with new stuff, but when you go and mix things up, it can at least look a little bit different than all the stuff that you've seen before. And yeah, and I think we actually did quite well in that regard. And I think people will notice that this isn't the type of stuff that you've seen before. And I hope people will like it.
I'm sure they're going to, man. And just the little teases I've seen have been amazing.
Thank you.
And I know you can't say a lot about the story without giving anything away, but if you were kind of giving your pitch, what would you tell people about the story and kind of what this is about? Because we know the art is going to be amazing, but
Thank you. Thank you.
some people like to read them too. Artists like me and you, we just look at the pictures, but we got to get people to read it as well, right?
Well, I gotta admit, man, there are certain writers like I'm going to buy anything that they write
Yeah.
because if I don't even care about the art too much. Like Garth Ennis,
Oh yeah.
he could have a 5-year-old draw the story as long as I know what's going on in the story.
Yeah.
I don't care because his writing is so crazy and so funny that I'm willing to like look past the artwork. I mean,
Yep.
luckily he's been always working with great artists, so that made it as interesting as possible. But the Whisper War is basically, it's a story about a retired policeman who's being called back into duty and who has to investigate a murder case without an actual body, and in the process of uh, um, you know getting to the answer of this murder case, new questions rise up, and they put everything in question that he thought he knew about
Mm,
himself and the world that he lives in. And
nice.
we come to find out that this Whisper War is a war that actually happened and nobody remembers it anymore. So imagine I don't know, nobody would remember the fact that there was a war in Afghanistan just 20 years ago or 25 years
Right.
ago, or that nobody remembered there was a war in Iraq or the Second World War. And if you don't remember what happened, then you won't know the reason why things are the way
Yeah.
they are. And this obviously opens up a can of worms that he's not prepared to look at. And that's probably as much as I can say
Oh, that's
without.
great, dude. You
Yeah,
hooked me. That more so than the Star Wars meets Blade Runner.
yeah,
That
dude.
that was a good. They
Honestly, like,
call that the elevator pitch, and that was beautiful.
dude, like honestly, like personally, of course, there are certain minimalistic or minimal tropes from sci-fi that
Right.
that will appear. Like you have to draw spaceships when you do sci-fi, or
Definitely.
yeah, the flying car. I have a flying car in there that maybe it doesn't resemble the spinner from Blade Runner, but we had the flying car, and I was like, okay, how can we do this, make this work? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go with the flying car. Okay, I'll give you that. That's the Blade Runner in there. But I think that's as much Blade Runner as you will get from this, other than the crazy what you might call it, city
Hmm.
scapes and everything. But other than that, I would say it's quite original, and I'm really proud of the work that all of us have done in regards to the book. And yeah,
Now, when is the book set to release? Next month already?
yeah, it's February 10th.
So
So
originally you said August. Was that August of last year or August of this year?
August of this year. So
This year. So it got moved way up.
yes, dude. And like I said, I have my conspiracy theories about why they did it. The first one being that Jeff from Comixology saw this stuff and he realized, oh, we have a live one with this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think maybe it also has something to do with the current situation with Netflix and Warner Brothers, but I'm not sure because
Gotcha.
because Disney has all the Marvel stuff, and now Netflix is going to have all the DC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Apple and Amazon, with their streaming services, have to come up with new content that you know
Yes.
maybe I don't know.
Maybe just they need to delve into the superhero sci-fi landscape a little bit.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like the situation is going to change drastically because now let's just say, if you have HBO and you pay like $10 a month and Netflix says, "Hey, you know what? We're going to integrate HBO into Netflix, and if you're willing to pay only $5 more per month, then you'll also have HBO."
Right.
Then Apple and Amazon are under pressure that they have to come up with new content, like whether it's like uh, for their streaming services or also like in terms of books and everything, because uh, I think Apple and Amazon also have to understand right now, or have to live with the fact that they have to come up with as much cool content as possible and
Yeah.
see what works as a comic, and then maybe think about turning it into like movies or TV shows or whatever it is they want to do with the stuff. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many possibilities there. I hope that they do explore that. So let's talk a little bit about your process because you already mentioned that you are doing these basically double up, oversized. Yeah, if you grab it, if you have something you can show the people watching the
Okay,
video.
so if you want to
Oh,
know
it's
how,
bigger than he is. Look at that.
yes,
That's the cover, right?
that's the cover for issue number one,
Wow.
and yeah,
It's
I kind
bigger
of
than your torso.
yes, dude, it's really big. Oh, wait a second, I'll show you one of the pages
Yeah.
that we've already posted online. So here we go. Okay, so
Holy cow.
yes, so you know, all of this went really fast, but then I got to this and
Mm-hmm.
it was crazy. Like maybe,
Detail.
yeah, the detail was insane, but
Wow.
I somehow managed to get it in a reasonable amount of time. But
That's impressive, because you're essentially you've created more work for yourself, but I think the passion you have for this project kind of offset the bad parts that brings. So,
yeah,
um,
it's funny because we had a situation on issue number three where Mark had written something and I wasn't sure how to convert it into pictures. And I was like completely lost. There was zero cool ideas on how I was going to do this. And then I called him up. I was like, dude, I am so frustrated. It's not working and I don't know what to do. And, you know, he's never encountered that with me because the
yeah,
whole time, the whole thing worked by itself. And then all of a sudden, like he's talking and he's trying to like get me to relax and everything. And then all of a sudden I was like, dude, I have this idea. I have an idea. He was like, what's the idea? And I tell him about it, and he's like, oh, okay, do that. That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. And you're like, and
nice.
so most of this, like, it was like it worked by itself. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to hold the pen and let my brain do the rest. And I got to be honest with you, like I finished the last page on the last weekend, and I was really sad, man. Like seriously,
I
this is
bet.
I'm very happy that I managed to finish the project and everything, but I'm also really sad because I'm not going to be playing with these toys
Yeah,
for a while, unless Amazon decides to like hire us to do a
yeah.
second season.
Let's
Like,
go. Let's
let's
go,
go, let's go, let's
Amazon.
go. You know, Uh,
Now, one thing that this discussion here brought up in my brain, which I think you just answered without me having to ask, was did it affect you at all, the fact that it got pushed up and brought from August to February, or were you already so far ahead that it didn't really impact you?
I was already very far ahead. Mark likes to say that I was the fastest on the whole team always. So,
Nice.
and I I I mean, they were like the issue number 4 and issue number 5 became a little bit difficult in some regards, because there was so much stuff that I did for the book, and then had real life stuff also happening. And I gotta admit, like, when I came back from New York 2024, sorry, 2025, I was a total train wreck. I was
Mm,
so exhausted, I was so tired.
yeah.
I could, like, seriously almost felt like I was burned out, because the whole show was so stressful for me. And then, also, I so I was like, I was in talks with DC to do a short story for them. They hired me, based, as a matter of fact, based on the artwork of this book. And then when I went to New York, I was like, I bet you they're going to send me the script when I arrive in New York. I bet you they're going to send me the script when I arrive in New York. I arrive in New York and I get the script. I was like,
Oh
oh,
man.
crap, you know. So I can't go back home now, right? And
Yeah.
so I got back home. I was totally exhausted, and then they gave me a deadline, and they said, you got to finish this stuff until, I don't know, so and so. And I did it. I did it, and in the meantime, I had to, like, keep push the stuff from the Whisper War a little bit further to the back. But other than that, we've already done so much stuff that we were ready to go, because the first 4 issues are completely drawn and colorized and everything. And I just finished the artwork for the 5th issue. As a matter of fact, as we were speaking, I'm working on the cover for the 5th issue. But you know, uh, like I said, I think they knew that this project was going to be a good project, but I don't think they expected it to be what it is. And I
Yeah.
think, to be honest with you, I think the same thing goes actually for Mark, because when Mark, he sent me the script and we talked, and he really liked the ideas that I had. And then, but I wasn't so sure if he had uh, basically a priority in regards to the project. And then after receiving the script, I did some sketches where I showed him what I thought the world could look like and everything, and he really liked that. And he actually was inspired to create some stuff based on the sketches that I sent him.
Awesome.
And then when I sent him the layouts for the first issue, he was like, "Oh my god, I didn't expect this," you know. And then when I did the actual art, the black and white stuff, he was like, "Oh my god!" And then Carlos came with the colors, and honestly, like, I've worked with Carlos before, I knew how good he was, but on this project, it was like, I don't know, he pulled a John Wick on us.
Wow.
He was like guns blazing. He was absolutely stunning in the whole thing.
Sounds like he probably got inspired by it too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like when you're in a football team and you see everyone's playing shitty, then you're not
Right.
motivated to go to a full extent, right? But if you're in a team where everyone is giving their best, and like I said, Mark's script was outstanding, then I tried my best. I did the best that I could, and I think when Carlos saw how well we did on that part, he was like, "Oh, I can't be the one who screws this thing up," and
Yeah.
he did his best, and therefore, like, I mean, he's an amazing colorist, so there's no question about it. But he really stepped up his game on this book, because I can tell you this much: if you're going to see the art of the book, you're going to realize this is not just generic classic comic coloring. It's definitely not. It looks more like it was painted, you
Oh
know.
wow.
So, and I don't know how he does it, but he does it, and it's amazing.
Very cool. So, going back to your process a little bit, we were talking a little earlier before the stream about the implementation of digital in the workflow and some of the benefits of that and everything, and actually how, doing some of your work digitally you feel has helped improve your traditional art, which is
Yeah.
really cool. So, you do what my friend Dan Fraga calls trad digital. So
Yes.
you do your roughs, and actually you said you kind of go in a little tighter on your digital, and then you're printing that out onto the boards and finishing traditionally,
No,
correct?
no. So what I used to do was like that I would ink over digital
Like the
blue
blue
lines.
line.
Yes, but at a certain point, it felt like I don't know because I'm a little bit weird when it comes to my process. I felt like it was restricting me, and then
Okay.
I tried with one of the covers. I tried to like do the artwork digital, printed it out, and then put it on the light box, and then just put a sheet on paper on top of
Okay.
that.
So you're adding that extra step of light boxing what you did in the digital part.
Exactly, because I don't know. Like I'm a weirdo, and when I see the blue lines maybe shining through a little bit, I get I don't know, I get weird.
The
And
OCD kicks in.
exactly. And then on top of that, I felt like that in many regards it started looking more uh, organic and more dynamic and everything in regards to the line work. So that it had this kind of level because I one thing that was important to me was like if somebody looks at this, I don't want people to say, "Oh, he's trying to draw like this guy or that
Hmm.
guy." And I try to be in that regard. I mean, I have tons of favorite artists, people that inspire me and that keep pushing me to where I'm like, "Oh, I got it. Oh, this is the new standard. Oh, I got to I have my work cut out for me." But
Yeah.
I didn't want it to look like anything that I don't know. Let's say Olivier Coipel would do. Not that I compare myself to Olivier, but like with Jim Lee back in the day, or later on, uh, um, Joe Matt or Travis Charest. When these guys came onto the scene, a lot of people started to imitate their work,
Yeah,
right?
we started getting a lot of clones, didn't we?
Exactly. And it's to this day, I mean, like if you look at it now, I would say that Olivier Coipel and James Herron are some of the most influential artists of this current period because
Yeah.
either everyone's trying to draw like Olivier or they're going into a direction where the art looks very similar to James Herron. You know,
Yeah.
I think James is one of those guys that not a lot of people talk about, but
He's amazing.
he's crazy good. Like the guy,
Yeah.
he can do anything, and I think a lot of the new artists are very influenced by him. And and I didn't want to be like the next guy who tries to draw like Olivier or James. And I don't know, like I
You want to
like
be the guy that other people are trying to draw like his style.
you know for me the most important thing is that I come across as a quote unquote kind of unique voice.
Right.
I I mean, is it nice if somebody tells you, "Hey, you inspired me to become an artist?" Of course.
Yeah.
We all have that little bit of ego where we are like,
Mm-hmm. You
"Oh,
have to have
inspired
some
this." Yes,
healthy ego is definitely
exactly.
required to be great at
But
anything, I think.
it's like you as a martial artist, when you see a fighter, or a martial artist fighting with a certain technique, you're like, "Oh, okay, this technique is interesting and I like it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not working for me. So I have to
Yep.
find like my own solutions for certain problems." And I think, and I mentioned this before when we talked, I am more influenced by like movie makers or by directors and their DPs than I am currently influenced by comic art because, like I said, I have very distinctive role models in art like Jim Lee, Travis Charest, Lenny Liu, Olivia Coipel, and Jerome Pena, and Sergio Topi, all these guys,
Yeah.
that if I try to imitate them, you would see it right away. And I don't know. I don't want to be the guy who constantly has to listen to people saying, "Oh, your work reminds me of so and so,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Oh man, I hate it."
Mm,
And
yeah.
this was really important to me. And I think the cool thing about mixing traditional and digital art is, first of all, the digital layouts are maybe this big, you know.
Right.
So, and it allows me to like change a lot of the stuff. And then when I print it out and start tracing and everything, that's where I, put in the details, the cross hatching and all that stuff, because uh, uh, you don't want to waste your time on the layout. The most important thing in the layout is, I think, three things: storytelling, composition, and clarity. If you have these three things, then you're set. And then obviously you have to make sure that the anatomy and the movements, everything looks
Yeah.
right. But that's a given. That's something that I consider to be like, you got to have this working for you already. And sometimes it happens that you draw a crappy hand, or the you don't like the pose. For example, the last page that I did from issue number 5 was actually one of the pages in the middle, because when after doing the layouts and everything, uh, when I had printed it out, I looked at the page and I was like, oh no, this page is not working in the way all these other pages did, and it's not up to the quality that I liked.
Right.
So I texted Mark. I said, hey Mark, I won't be delivering page 16 now. I'm gonna finish all these pages, and then I have to sit down and change the whole layout and make this work, because this is not up to the standard. And
Yeah.
Mark was like happy, as happy as one can be, because
Yeah.
it's not going to drag the quality of the book
You
down.
were doing your own quality control for them.
Yes, yes. So, and the worst thing I can imagine is like uh starting with like great quality. Like, let's say it this way: imagine it's like Alien Earth and comics. You want to start good and you want to get better,
Mm-hmm.
but they started great and then they went downhill like right
That's
away.
tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and this was, I gotta admit, these past 1.5, 2 years were really difficult, because you have these oversized pages, and then you have a certain degree of quality that you gotta deliver, and
Yeah.
you can't go below the threshold anymore. If you
Yeah. You
go
set the bar for yourself very high and you got to be able to maintain.
exactly, and I basically didn't have a life outside of drawing for the past 2 years. I was so busy, like trying to make all of this work. And yes, I remember there was one time where I had to finish 6 pages, and I had only 7 days until I would
Oh,
have to
wow.
go to Charlotte, Heroes Con in Charlotte. And Mark was going to be there as well, and I didn't want to go there without having finished that issue. So I worked for like 16 to 18 hours every day to get these last 6 pages done in 7 days. And I'm talking about very detailed pages.
Yep.
And Mark was like, dude, you didn't have to do that. You should have taken your time. And I was like, no, I would have felt, really badly about this and everything. And I didn't want you to think he's going to visit a convention uh, instead of working on the pages. And I think that's something that you can really see, despite the fact that I was like working these crazy hours. I never allowed myself to like uh, to slip, or to let anything basically be below the threshold that I created with the quality.
That's great. That's really admirable. Now that you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, you've started posting some cool stuff on your Instagram. You're doing a little like panel a day or panel a week type of thing. Like
Yes.
that's been really neat. So it's giving you, are you like you're still creating? Are you taking a little time to allow yourself to do this to like recharge your battery, so to speak?
Okay, so this is going to sound really stupid, but that's just me. I think there was a like a big gap between receiving uh, issue number 4, or the script for issue number 4, and issue number 5. So I had a few,
Okay.
and I had to wait, and then on this, on the other hand, I was also waiting for my DC script to come in. That didn't happen. And then on, another project where I had to do something which wasn't coming in either. And after like a week of waiting, I was like, I can't do this.
You
I
were
can't,
going nuts. You need
I,
to create.
yeah. And I was like, you know what? I've become so fast. Let me do this thing, and then
Wow.
I
So you were
started to.
doing that in between.
Exactly. So that's why I already created like 10 panels already that I have ready so that I have some sort of head start. And then if I don't have time to work on it, that there's still stuff I can post. And I thought to myself, because, I'm a big science fiction guy and I haven't done enough sci-fi over the past 2 years. I still need more.
More sci-fi.
Yes, yes.
That's amazing. Well, as we start to get close to the end here, what else do you want to let people know about? Like, I feel like you've probably said as much as you can about the projects. Like, what's the exact release date for Whisper War?
Okay, the first issue is to be released on February 10th on
Okay.
comic, because it's a Comixology Originals. It's going to be digital only for now.
Oh, I
Feb-
love it. I actually get most of my comics digitally.
yes, we talked about that last time. So,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, I don't think I told you back then that we were going to be working with Comixology, but when you
Yeah,
said that,
no.
I was like, okay, that's a good sign. And so
Yeah, yeah.
you can pre-order the book now. It's, I think, only $3 or $4, and I promise you guys, it's worth the money. You're going to have a lot of fun, and you will be shocked by the end of issue 2. And I'm issue number 1, and I'm pretty sure you're going to pick up number 2, because
Nice.
even if you don't like my artwork, you're probably going to be like, oh, this story is interesting. I gotta pick the second issue up for
I
sure.
highly I highly doubt they're not gonna like your artwork, brother.
You never know. You never know. Yeah, and then I also have some stuff for DC coming up. That's going to be released. It's I think it's okay to say that it's something Green Lantern related,
Oh,
because
cool.
okay, so when I had issue number 4 with me when I was in Chicago at C2E2, and uh, a DC editor with whom I've spoken before came over, and it's the funniest story. I was like having, I don't know if this sometimes happened to you, but I was doing the 100 yard stare where I was sitting at like this,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden he stood in front of me and he's like, "Hey, Sedat," and I was like looking at him. Oh, and he's like, "It's me, Paul," and I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm sorry, I was just somewhere else
You
with
were designing
he,
more sci-fi in your brain.
basically." And then he looked at this stuff, especially issue number 4, and he was like, "You know what? You should be doing something Green Lantern related." And it's the funniest thing, because Mark and I had planned to pitch something to DC that's Green Lantern.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and he asked me, he said, "Who do you want this to write?" And I was like, "Mark, give me Mark. I want to have Mark." Because with Mark, it's always a safe bet. I know he's a good writer, and he won't, well,
Well,
I horrible.
and you guys mesh well together.
Exactly. It's like a shortcut keyboard that you have.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay, deal." And I went, picked up my phone, called Mark up, and I was like, "Dude, how would you like to draw Green Lantern? Would you like to write Green Lantern?" And he
Yeah.
was like, "I would love it." And he was like, "Wait, did you pitch something to him?" I was like, "No, he told me." And he was like, "This is the craziest stuff
Yeah,
ever."
because you guys are already talking about it.
Exactly. And then yeah, I've also have a short story for a Savage Sort of Conan
Oh,
that's
cool.
that's coming out this year. I don't know when exactly. It was written by Liam Sharp,
Did
and
you see Liam's work on that? That's like his magnum opus, like
it's
his He's doing crazy stuff.
Unfortunately, I saw it.
Oh my goodness.
You know,
Crazy.
Liam is,
Makes us like something to strive for that we probably will never be able to attain, right?
Liam is a friend of mine. So when he started sending me some of the pages, honestly, I was like, dude, what are you doing? You're making all of us look bad. Like
Yep.
nobody's able to come and draw Conan anymore and not be compared to this stuff that you're doing.
And the
And
stuff he's doing on that new Spawn book too is crazy.
yes. I mean, like he's already been an amazing artist, but it's basically like somebody said, "Hey, you know what? I've shown everything that I could do as far as I done in my career, but now let me reinvent myself."
Yeah,
And he really like he
he
killed
really
it.
did.
He
And I
really
put
like
him in that modern master category now.
yeah. As a matter of fact, when he started showing me the pages, I said to him, I said, Liam, do not sell these pages yet. I said, hold on to them for just a little bit. I
Yeah.
said, this will become one of the moments like you can refer to a certain moment in Conan history where Buscema started drawing. Then
Yep.
I don't know, Kerry North started drawing it. Asad Ribic started doing, and then Mahmoud Azra, and then or Jorge Safino or whoever else. And now
Mahmoud's stuff on it was really cool.
yes, and
Yeah.
now we have Liam, and his whole style really like fits this idea of the Savage Sword of Conan magazine. Like it is not the stuff that, for example, as an artist, sometimes you leave certain things out for the colorists to add in there.
Mm-hmm.
And since the book is in black and white, he was like, okay, I got to do this all of this myself, and then he really killed it. And
He
like I
did.
said, when I mean last year in New York, he showed me some additional stuff that he did for Conan. I was like, oh, what are
You're
you
like, I
doing?
gotta follow this.
Yes, and I was like, okay, if when people see my Conan, they're going to be like, oh yeah, nice. Where's Liam?
No, but the thing is, it's gonna be your Conan, and
Yeah,
that's
of course.
really cool.
Yeah, and then I also have another Conan cover coming up, and I am in talks to do some other stuff that unfortunately is not.
That we're gonna bring you on
I hope so.
again,
And it's and it's
hopefully.
and it's going to be something really big, like big,
Nice.
big. Yeah.
Once it's revealed, I want the news to break here.
Yes, I do. Like I don't know. I got to be honest with you. I'm actually just waiting for my editor to tell me when it's available. I mean, I can say
Nice.
this much: it's for DC. And the funny thing is, like, I hadn't even drawn one line for the Green Lantern stuff. And I talked to the editor. I was like, "Hey, dude, don't you think I would be good on this character?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure you would be, but unfortunately, I'm not the editor on it."
Yeah.
But then he was like, "But I'm the editor on so and so. How would you like to draw that?" I was like,
Wow.
so I don't know.
All
I
right,
mean,
we're gonna have to talk off air. I'm
yeah,
withholding so many secrets now. It's the other cool thing about chatting with all the awesome creators on here is they feel comfortable confiding in me, and I'm like Fort Knox. I knew about Nick Pitara's Bizarro project like
nice,
many
nice.
many months ago. He
Oh,
told
so
me
cool.
this is what I'm pulling all nighters working on, and then the news just broke. I'm so happy for him, man.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, I would like, first of all, I would like to thank you for having me on your show again.
my pleasure.
It's always a privilege. It's always fun, especially like this is more like hanging out with a friend and,
Exactly.
exchanging stories. And it's not like this tight kind of
No,
situation. And also thank you to everyone out there. If you guys are picking up the book, I appreciate it. One of the things that's very important to me is that we we got to support indie comics as much as we can because
yes,
as much as I love the big two ones, the indie comics important as well because they will provide us with new stories, new content, and stuff that you you just can't do at Marvel or DC, which is okay. I mean, this is a category and this is another category. And yeah, thank you in advance to anyone who goes and buys the book. I would appreciate it if you pre-ordered it and maybe show it to your friends. I'm pretty sure you're going to like it. Thank you.
Awesome. I couldn't have said it any better.
Thank you.
How about you let everybody know the best places to follow you online, where they can see your little project that you burdened yourself in between projects that you've been
Yes.
posting. What's the best place for people to follow you on social media?
I think, to be honest with you, my Instagram is the best place. I think it's at SEDATOEZGEN on Instagram, and you can just follow me there. I only post art. You won't see any cat pictures from me, no food pictures. It's
Well,
just
I'm
art.
bummed about no cat pictures, dude.
Yeah, I know, but
Come on.
I'm
Cat dad over
all
here.
I know. So the thing is, like, I try to just keep it as much as about art as
Yeah.
possible, and don't have anything because my life's pretty boring. I'm either drawing or I'm sleeping. So
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you again for
thank
making the
you,
time to be on today.
thank you.
Definitely going to be doing it again in the future.
I hope so.
Hang out with me for a moment here. Everybody, go support the Whisper War. Pick it up on Comixology. Share it with a friend. If you're enjoying all the amazing creators I'm having on, I would love it if you liked, subscribed, did all those things that help the podcast get seen and heard by more people. It's a little free thing you can do that helps greatly. I just enjoy hanging out with all the amazing creators that we have on here. And if you want to give a little extra support to the podcast, I am reworking the Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/nerdymusings to support. And in the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.